Hi, welcome to Donegal Dad. I'm Mark. Today we're at Donegal Railway Heritage Centre where we're going to start work on the Pettigo Layout here in Wagon 84. First, I'd like to say thanks to all my new subscribers and to all the existing subscribers. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, hit that button. And also a big thanks to my channel members who help support the channel and the work I do here at Donegal Railway Heritage Centre. If you'd like to become a channel member and support the channel, the links are down below. And if not, just simply watch and share the videos, and that will help my work here at the Heritage Centre. Also, I'd like to make a quick apology. I've had some new video equipment that I'm testing out at the moment. I've already recorded the video, and I noticed that some of the sound is a bit off, so I've tried to fix it as best as I can in the video editing software. So just bear with me for this video. There might be a few volume changes up and down in the volume and some hissing, but hopefully from now on it'll be better quality. Here's the baseboard that's been built to match up with the Pettigo station. So this is constructed from 9mm ply on top, and then using 2x2 timbers to create the supports. So you can see we put the supports at sort of 18-inch centres, and it's all screwed in to the existing Pettigo layout. And we've got some 3x1 leg supports there, and it's attached to the walls. So it's nice and secure, it's not going anywhere. Now we just have to get on with laying the track. And it's the same over on the other side. I'll show that to you now. You can see it's the same baseboard construction on this side. Going around Pettigo. We've also added a piece at the back, so the track can go behind, hidden behind the back seam, so it'll be a continuous loop around. And then construction is the same, 2x2 cross members, supporting leg with the wood screwed to the walls. So again, nice sturdy construction. All that remains to be done now is for the actual baseboard just to be screwed down to hold it in place. This will add to the rigidity of the structure. So we're going to extend this loop around. It's going to be a bit of a tight curve. I'm going to try to keep it a minimum of a second radius. Bring it around, back out, around behind the layout, to loop around on the other side and come back through the station, so we have a train continually looping around. And also on these sidings then I'll use some DC shuttles to have some movement in and out of the station itself. So we'll hopefully should have 3 engines moving at any one time. Then we need to put lighting up to illuminate it, so we'll put some spots up, LED spots, and all of that will be connected to an infrared sensor or PIR sensor, so when anybody steps into the wagon it'll bring the lights on and set the trains in motion. So let's start with the track laying. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some cork. This is 2mm thick cork, comes in a roll like this, into strips to put under the track to cushion it, and also to help me create a ballast shoulder when it comes to ballasting. So to do this, just unwrap your cork. What I like to do is unroll it and roll it the other way, just to help take some of the springiness out of it, where it will tend to roll up as you're working with it. Just like that. You could do this sort of thing the day before and leave it in that position, and then just unroll it the following day when you're ready, but just doing that just helps it stay flat. So now I'm going to cut this into strips. So to do that, I take a piece of flexi track, so I know roughly what width I want it, then use a long straight rule. Like so. So you want a couple of mil either side of the sleepers. So just use the straight edge just first of all to straighten the flexi track so that's straight, get it into the position that you want it. So if I pull that back a little bit, that allows enough so when the track sits on it, there's going to be a shoulder either side of it. So I can take the track away, getting a sharp blade, keeping pressure on your metal rule and just running it down. Just taking your time. And there's one strip ready to go. So I'm going to carry on and do the rest of this sheet so I have plenty to keep me going. That's the cork all cut into strips now, ready to go into the track. I've started laying out some track, as you can see. Now this is all going to be made using FlexiTrack. But what I like to do when I'm at this stage is I've got loads of the fixed track. So this is Hornby second radius, and it allows me to put it out and just see how it fits. And make sure everything fits in, there's enough space, and the curves aren't too sharp. So what I like to do when I have the track in position is I'll get a pencil and I'll put a mark in the centre every sort of 10-15 sleepers, just to give me an idea of the curve. So when I'm laying the track, I have the curve. The other way I do it is, of course, I use track setters, which are great for getting a nice smooth curve, nice smooth transitions. But if you don't have these, then simply putting the marks down and then bending the curve around and then slipping the cork underneath once you have it in the position that you want. So I'm going to carry on doing that, getting the first piece of FlexiTrack. Now I have to make a cut in the existing track to have a join on here. Now it's not ideal to have this sort of S bend. Really there should be a bit of a straight there, but I just don't have the space here to do that. So I'm going to have to make sure that the engines that I run on here are able to negotiate that without derailing. So I'm going to cut this track and start laying the first piece of FlexiTrack. So we'll come back and see that in a moment. I've marked the track here, so now I'm going to cut it with the Dremel. Always remember when you're using one of these Dremel type tools, safety glasses, because these discs, they can shatter and go flying off in all directions. So safety glasses are a must. So we'll switch it on and we'll cut the track. That's the track cut through. I think this track has been glued down, so we'll get a blade or something under there to free it and lift it out of the way. So the track's been cut. I've put a couple of fish plates on there. Now we're going to bring in the piece of FlexiTrack. Using the 18-inch track setter, which is a second radius curve, and just bend the track. Get it. I'm only doing a rough bend at the moment, I'm not fixing it, it's just to get it into place. and make sure the curve is following the line I want it to. There you can see it's roughly in place now. And if you can see the pencil line there that I've drawn, roughly, that should be about the center line of the track. So I need to start putting the S-curve into here, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment. What I'm going to do is there's a hole here where wires came up to feed the track. So I'm going to solder some droppers to this track here. So I'm going to mark it with a pencil where I want to solder the droppers on. Leave them long enough so they can go down that hole, because the wires will be covered by ballast anyway once I've done. So we'll head over to the soldering iron and I'll show you how to solder some droppers on. Here's the track. I've cut away some of the webbing at the back so I can solder the dropper straight onto that. The droppers, I'm using this wire here. It's 7.2, which basically means there's 7 strands of 0.2mm wire inside. I've got red and black. Red is the live, black is the neutral. The wiring convention I'm going to use, like I do with all my layouts, is black to the back. So this will be going on this rail, because that will be the rail that's towards the back of the layout. So first thing I'm going to do is I've cut these to length. I've put a little bit of flux on the ends. Now I'm going to get some solder and tin the ends of these. So we have the solder. Soldering iron should be up to temperature now. It's always important when you're doing soldering is to do it in a well ventilated area. And it's just a little bit of solder, just run it up the bare wire. Like so. And always clean the tip off well. So you've got a nice clean tip. It helps the solder adhere to the tip and makes the soldering much easier. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the track. Now the track, you don't want to leave the solder soldering iron in place on the track too long, because you don't want the track to heat up and melt the plastic sleepers. So I'm just going to get some of the solder. Very difficult to do this without blocking the visibility of it. So there's a little bit of solder on the iron, just tap, it's on there. Tap, it's on the iron, on the rail, sorry. So we'll take the droppers now, and what I'm going to do is just trim the ends that are going onto the rail, just so they're a little bit shorter. It just makes a neater job when it's on the rail. Bend them over it at 90 degrees like that. And just put a little bit of flux back on the rail on the solder you put on. Using flux just makes it so much easier when you're soldering. And then we're just going to hold it in place and dab it with the soldering iron. Hold it a second and there it is attached. And we'll do the same with the black wire. So we put it in place. So the wire's got solder on it, there's solder on the rail, there's none on the soldering iron. Just holding it in place. I'll just tap this iron on it only for a couple of seconds. It melts the solder on the wire and the rail, and then it sticks, and that's it done. And there you have 2 droppers soldered on. So now we're ready to carry on and play the track. So droppers, because I'm using flexible track, this is about 3 foot long. I'll put a set of droppers on each piece of track. That means every piece of track is connected to the bus wire, which we'll look at in a later video. So it'll all have good electrical connectivity. So let's get this track laid. Have the track in place here now. The droppers are going down that hole there. So now I'm going to start pinning it into place. So I've already drilled some holes in the sleepers using my pin vise here. I'm going to be using these track pins. Now what I got here is an old magnet. It's quite handy for having them, so that you have all the track pins just attached to the magnet. You can just pick one off and use it. So I'm going to slide the cork underlay that I cut previously in underneath and have it positioned roughly where I want it. And then I can put the first track pin in. Push it in and using the hammer, give it a tap. You don't want to use a hammer and start bashing the rails. So then I've got this bolt that I use to hammer the track pins home. And again, you don't want to put them in too tight. They actually pinch the sleeper and pull the track together. So that pin's in, and it's just a matter of bending the track round gently with the underlay under it. The 2mm underlay, I find it bends quite nicely with the track, so you don't have to cut it or do anything further to it to get it to go around the bend. So we'll just gently bend it around so we're following the pencil line, and then I can go around with the track setter on it to make sure it's a nice smooth even curve. And you can see it's not too bad of a curve there. So what I'll do now is down this end is I will just put a track pin along here, not all the way in, just to hold it in position so I'm happy with the curve. I'll pop it into one of the holes that I've drilled. I'll say not drive it all the way in, it's just to initially hold the track in place so we can check the curve isn't too tight and it's where we want it. And also pull these lines, because you can see on here as you bend the track, you can make that out there, you can see how the track recedes. You just need to get a pair of pliers and gently just pull it round so these match up, and then be trimming off the other end. So I'll finish fitting this track in, make sure the curve's okay, and then we'll come back at the finished section of track. That's the first piece of track in. When I get the other bits of track in and start running trains, there may be some adjustments need to be made to this curve. It does look a bit tight in places, so I may need to move it around slightly. You can see there the gap where the droppers are. So what I'll do is I'll get some of the sleepers that have been cut off and shove them in underneath. I've trimmed this end ready for the next piece, and what I've done so I can add the fish plates is I've actually, with a craft knife, just cut off the chairs off the first sleeper so I can slide a fish plate in there. So what I have to help put fish plates on is a bit of rail, bent the bottom of it, just under 90 degrees there, so you can put the fish plate on there. Like so. And then you can just push it onto the track. And you can see there, because I've taken away the chairs, it just slides on. So there's a handy little tip for you. So I'm going to leave the video there. I'm going to carry on now fitting the track to the rest of the layout here in this original Donegal wagon that was first built in 1890. So next time we come back, we'll be looking at fitting the bus wire, doing the electrics, and then running tests, and then doing any adjustments to the track that may be required. So don't forget to check out my channel members down below, and if you think of becoming a channel member to support the channel, because all the bits and pieces I've purchased in here for this layout comes from the revenue from YouTube. So you can just like the videos, share them, do a super chat or super thanks, or become a member just to support the channel and the work I do here at the Donegal Railway Heritage Centre. So with that, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.